Howdy Iron Horse fans, and welcome to the Iron Horse Roundup. In this episode we are going to take a look at the fine hobby of garden railroading. Garden railroading is, well, exactly that. Model railroading in the garden. The scale used is primarily G-scale, which is the largest of the model scales, and often features miniature plants, like these trees here, buildings, structures, and of course trains and railroad tracks. Let's take a look at all the different models of real-life trains, including the Southern Pacific Daylight here, which is one of my top 10 favorite steam locomotives. I just want to make a disclaimer here. None of the garden railroads in this video are owned by me. They are owned by members of the Orange County Garden Railway Society of Orange County, California. Some garden railroads use track power, especially in sunny regions like here in Southern California. Others use battery power, and some are even live steam powered. Approaching this shot is a New York Central Hudson 464 hauling a freight train, which wasn't very prototypical as Hudsons were primarily passenger haulers, but hey, in model railroading you can do whatever you want. If you pursue garden railroading, be sure to expect the locals to call it home. I personally don't mind this so long as they're not obstructing the track or anything like that. Approaching this shot here is a Southern Pacific F7 diesel in Black Widow colors hauling Daylight heavyweight coaches. Despite the fact that these were the diesels that put steam engines out of business, and I love steam engines, they still remain my favorite vintage diesels to this day as I love their streamlined design and they are a big part of railroad history. Here we get two Southern Pacific freight trains and one mining train in one shot, all while admiring this crane train with the lumber cars behind it.
This is one smart dog. Get this. We were at the dog park the other day. This is stuff you've never seen. One of the dogs, the regulars, got her head stuck in the fence at the gate, the entrance.
So next week I'm going to activate going to Verizon, and then I can see if I better renew the train.
You just gotta love the fine detail that goes into these buildings. The freight train coming around the bend here is pulled by a Southern Pacific GP9 diesel in a bloody nose scheme, although a bit weathered. Another thing that a lot of model railroaders do is make their trains look realistic by weathering them, making them look like they're actually out in the elements as they have been in real life.
So this would be controlled by number 1 power pack, number 2 power pack.
Here is yet another GP9 in the Black Widow colors pulling some passenger coaches. You can also see some aerial gondolas moving in the background, adding yet another layer of realism. Approaching this shot is a Southern Pacific diesel with Halloween colors on it pulling a boxcar train. Ladies and gentlemen, the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water. Only Jungle Cruise riders will get this reference, or those who have seen the movie. Remember how I said you can do whatever you want with your own railroad? Well, this guy did his own lowrider train. Before the invention of the refrigerator car, ice blocks were used to keep these boxcars cold when hauling frozen items and perishable items. Note the guy on the top trying to get that block of ice in the boxcar. Just teenagers doing teenager things. Nothing to see here, folks. What a wonderful way to view the landscape from above. The next railroad is actually a display by the San Diego Garden Railway Society at the San Diego Fair in Del Mar. And boy, do I love the desert scenery. For those of you who may not know, I am a huge fan of deserts. The attention to detail is nothing short of impressive. Look at how these oil derricks actually move as the trains pass them.
This is Keith Richards and the Rolling Stones. And Stones are not just our creation. Everybody out there is created them too.
I don't know who designed these rocks, but it does give off a Looney Tunes Wile E. Coyote vibe to it. Fun fact while looking at this scene, motorcycles are also known as iron horses, just like trains are.
This is Keith Richards and the Rolling Stones. And Stones are not just our creation. Everybody out there is created them too.
Since we're at the fair, let's take a brief moment to watch these pig races. Back up in Orange County, we visit yet another garden railroad, this one having more cliffs. The train approaching is a 464 Santa Fe Hudson steam locomotive pulling a Heinz train. You know, like Heinz ketchup, Heinz mustard, and all that. The red train sitting down below is actually based on the circus train that you see at the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Here we have a logging train pulled by none other than the Shay locomotive, one of the most popular geared steam locomotives used for logging railroads. The train approaching this shot is hauled by two articulated steam locomotives. The first one, which is a cab-forward type locomotive, they get this name because unlike most steam locomotives, the cab is on the front. Here comes a fictional train based on a company called the Bear Whiz Brewing Company, obviously a beer company. The next layout is not really a garden railroad, but rather a G-scale set of modules creating a train layout, owned by a club I recently joined known as the Del Oro Pacific. This is the first time since moving to Southern California that I've gotten to run the My Little Pony train, and it was great to run it again. This is the only train in the video that's my own. While the Disneyland train takes a break, this 2882 triplex articulated steam locomotive runs the tracks. My friend's 260 Emma Nevada steam locomotive makes a pass with the Friendship Express. The real version of this locomotive is now on display at the Southern California Railway Museum in Paris, California, where it will be one day restored to steam. This locomotive was also known to be owned by the famed Ward Kimball, one of the Disney animators and Walt Disney's close friends. His private railroad was known as the Grizzly Flats Railroad. Approaching the scene here is the famed Glenbrook locomotive. This particular model is owned by the president of the club and is also based on the real-life Glenbrook, which I saw in Carson City a couple of years ago at the Great Western Steam-Up, at the Nevada State Railroad Museum in Carson City, Nevada, where the Glenbrook resides. Well, that wraps up yet another episode of the Iron Horse Roundup. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the fine hobby of garden railroading, and I will see you on the high iron.
Hey, viewers to like and subscribe.
Well, I suppose I could. Hey! You know, I would, but it sounds like the engineer already told you to like and subscribe just based on that whistling. So if you know what's good for you, you'll do that, all right?